everyone, and welcome back to the DoSo Knits YouTube channel. My name is Kristen and I'm a knitter and military spouse living in Germany with my family. If you're new to the channel, this is just my little space where I share all of my yarn and knitting adventures and how they have intertwined with my life. If you'd like to find me other places, I am DoSo Knits on all the platforms here on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram and Ravelry, all as DoSo Knits. I also want to share with you guys something a little new. I have started a Discord server for DoSo Knits. So if you don't know what Discord is, it's kind of like an old school chat room, but a little better. So in there are different channels is what they call them, which you can sort things by topics and you can join, and in those you can chat like an old school chat room in real time with other people. But it's nice because you can also share videos and photos. So if you cast on something new and you want to share it with others, you can post it all there. It's also nice because there is voice channels as well. So if there's something that you are talking about and you want a little more human feel or human connection, or just something might be easier if you talk it out, you can do that in the voice channels as well. If you are interested in that, please feel free to join. I've linked that down in the description box as well, along with all of my other social links. You can join the Discord and chat with other people in the DoSo Knits community. You can talk about your knitting, talk about the things that you've cast on. If you need help, you can also see if you can find some help there. So I hope you guys hop on. I hope to see a few of you more in there. I'm really excited about it. I want something that is a little more native and natural feeling, and I've been looking for something that is an alternative for people who can't access Ravelry, and I feel like Discord might be a good place to start and try out. It's nice because there is a mobile phone app. You can also download the app on your computer, or you can just use it in a browser. So I think it is pretty flexible. So I hope to see you guys there. And today is episode 11 of the DoSo Knits video podcast. So today I have a finished object to share with you, a couple new works in progress, and I also wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how I track my knitting in my knitting journals. So that'll be right at the end. But before we get started with the fun knitting project, I do want to talk a little admin at the beginning. If you are unaware, I am hosting a knit along. If you like some more details, I will link it up above to the video where I made about how to enter and what the guidelines are. But in general, the knit along is called New Year New WIP. So the premise of this is, let's start some things that you have been itching to start, but for some reason you have been detoured from starting them, and it's just, you just haven't been able to do it. And I am telling you, let's do it and let's finish by the end of February. So the dates for the knit along started on December 25th and it's ending on February 28th. So you still have a good amount of time to start something new and finish it before the end of February. If you have already started something within that time frame, feel free to enter it as a knit along entry. And so just the couple logistics, you must do a cast on and bind off post within the Ravelry group, and you have to do it within the time frame. And then if you are interested in sharing on Instagram as well, please use the hashtags DoSoKnits and New Year New WIP 21. And please make sure to use both, because someone else is using the hashtag New Year New WIP 21. So unless you use DoSo Knits, I do not know if you are entering it for my knit along or for something else. So future reference going forward, although I don't think anyone was using it before I claimed it. So just make sure you use both, so that way I know you are actually a DoSo Knits knitter and not someone who is using the hashtag for, I think it's a self-development, like New Year, New Work in Progress as a person. So ours is knitting based. So please just make sure you use both, that way there's no confusion when I pull prizes from there. Right now, the only prize that I have in for sure is a pattern by Hygge Canyon. It is your choice, but I do have some more on the way, and as soon as I have them, I will show them here. I have a couple project bags, a skein of yarn, a stitch marker. They are all in the works. It's just getting them to me to then show to you, but they are coming. So cast on something and finish it before the end of February. With that, let's go ahead and get into the knitting content. So if you don't know, I have a finished object and I am wearing it right now. This is my Stillwater by Mary Green. I knit this out of Cascade 220 non-superwash wool. It is 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and it is in the colorway Purple Jewel Heather. And so I started this a long time ago. I started this back in August. I think it might have made its premiere on episode 2 of the DoSo Knits podcast, if not episode 1, but I think it might be 2. So it's been a while. This cardigan has basically been my podcasting life, so that is fun and exciting. But I have officially finished it, and I'll give you guys a little bit of a close-up. So this is kind of what it looks like in general, and then it has these faux cables down the front on each side, and so the pattern is written flat, and then you add the ribbing later. It is a 3x2 rib, and then a standard sleeve, and that is how they look. This is the length of the sleeve. I stopped it right there so I don't have to push it up. I did not do rolled cuffs. And the cardigan is meant to stay open like this, and overall I think it fits really, really nicely. It stops right below my bum, well, halfway through my bum. But overall, I am very excited that this cardigan is done. It is knit in a worsted weight yarn, so it does knit pretty quickly if you actually commit time to it. I let this one kind of languish a bit, and I just picked it up when I wanted to. Because we had some heartaches, but we did it. We did it together. We did it, and it is done, and I'm so excited. So the main modification I made in this cardigan is I steeked it. The pattern is written flat, and you're supposed to knit back and forth, but I added 5 extra stitches starting right at the beginning, 5 extra stitches to do a steek, and just did it all the way down, which I then cut and then added the ribbing on later. You can see here as well, this is where I sewed down my steek. This side looks very pretty. This side is not as pretty. But it is going to be okay that it is not the prettiest, because I bought this ribbon, which this is the only thing that I have not done, but it will be okay. So I have this, I think it is a 1-inch purple ribbon, and I think it matches quite perfectly. I will be sewing this ribbon on the inside over the seam of where I folded, and I did a whip stitch to put the steek in place after cutting. And then I will add a nice ribbon on the inside. I think it'll be a nice little finishing detail. And then you won't see how I really fudged up this side and not the other side. I don't know how I did that, especially since the messed up side is the one I did second. Normally your first side looks worse because you're figuring out what you need to do. Nope, definitely did it second and it looks worse. So I don't know, maybe I was just done. But overall, it is done. I did have to change the decreases on the sleeve as well. Oh boy, that caused me some grief. First time I knit it, and I shared about it a little bit on my Vlogmas, I did the decrease rate that was requested in the pattern, and I looked like I had giant ballooned arms, and it was like down to here. And it just felt uncomfortable. So I ripped it out, decreased at double the rate until I was comfortable until I hit about my elbow, and then I decreased at a slower rate to get down to the cuff. And so the top, my decreases, I decreased every 4 rounds, and then after that, I decreased every 6 rounds. And all the notes about that are listed on my Ravelry project page. And then for the steeking video, that is also listed in my project page, the one that I used. It is by Mina Phillips, the Knitting Expat. I really enjoy her steeking tutorial. She actually gives you a really nice mini project to do within that, so that is fun as well. And then the bind off I did was a super stretchy bind off. I used the Very Pink Knits tutorial, and that is also linked in my Ravelry project pages. And I think it gave it a nice clean look. So I'm quite excited about this. It is very snuggly and warm. Overall, I used 4.5 skeins of yarn, and I feel like it went pretty well. I'm quite excited. And I feel like the shoulders on this one sit a lot better than the shoulders on my Union Station cardigan. Every time I wear that cardigan, it like really slips off a lot, like this all the time. So this one I feel like fits a lot better across the shoulders. And yes, I'm very excited. My 4-day cardigan, because that is how this pattern is originally mentioned, took me 4 months, but we are done now. Maybe I was holding on to it because it was like my baby of the podcast. And yay. I can't get over how warm and snuggly it is. Literally, I put it on this morning after coming back and was doing things around the house, getting my bag ready to go to work and all the things. And I was sweating my tail off. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. And when your house is warm, it's very warm in this cardigan. But then at work, because our building is freezing, even with a heater next to me, I felt very comfortable. And so I think it works quite well. It's also very good for walks because it's just a nice extra layer that is comfortable but not too heavy and breathable. So I'm very excited. I'm so excited that my first steek went well. I just decided to do it. So if you're scared to steek, just do it. I did steek a swatch first, I think. I did steek the swatch first, and that kind of gave me the confidence, and then I just went for it. Well, I added the steeking video details in my Ravelry page. And that is my only finished object this week. But now we can move on to works in progress, which, if you guys know me, you know there's more than yep. Okay, the first pattern I have this week is The Weekender by Andrea Mowry. This is a pattern written for worsted weight yarn. I am knitting the size 4, which is a 52-inch bust, and will give me about 9 inches of positive ease. And the pattern has 1 through 9 sizes, ranging from a bust of 39.5 to 72.5, with a recommended 10 inches of positive ease. So that is a pretty large size range and is pretty exciting. So for the size 4, I should need about 5 skeins of yarn, and I am very excited. If you guys remember, I said I would be casting this on as part of my Year New WIP KAL, and I did. I did say that. I also said I'd be finishing it for the KAL, so.
I'm going to cast on and finish my weekender for this knit along.
But I did start, which is half the battle. So I did swatch. I hit gauge. I was very excited. And then we cast on. So this starts with a tubular cast on, which is very exciting. And Andrea Mowry links a pattern from her YouTube, and I think it is very explanatory and it's a very good video. So I went ahead and I cast on. And so for this pattern, I am using needle sizes US 5, 6, and 7. The pattern is written for 7, 8, and 9, but I'm a very loose knitter, so I'm down 2 needle sizes from the recommended, which is fine. My yarn might also be a little thinner. I'm knitting this out of Merino Naturgan, which is just natural merino wool from a yarn store close by. It's called Das Wohlschaft. I think they just shipped to Germany, I'm unsure. But it is just naturally undyed merino wool in the dark gray color. And so with the cast on, you are supposed to cast on with your smallest needle size, and then knit the ribbing in your second to smallest, and then the main body is your main needle, your largest needle. I hit gauge with the US 7 for my main needle. So then the next day I go to cast on my tubular cast on, and I'm like, it said the larger size needle. It did not. So I did my tubular cast on with the US 8. Read your patterns. So then, the second time I did it, got a little confused about the counting of a tubular cast on, because the video tutorial says that you should end, it basically explains how to end with an even number of stitches and what stitch you should end with. So I ended with that, but then, because I didn't know if you counted the slip knot as a stitch. The answer is yes, you do. So then I didn't have the right number of stitches and I had to rip it off again. By this time, I feel very good about my tubular cast on, and I cast on with my 6, which is still one size too big, because it says smallest needle, not smaller needle. So I used my 6 and that was wrong. So then you cast on with the 5, and I did it! After all that turmoil, I cast on with my 5, did my 2 foundation rows, and then changed to the size 6 and then knit my ribbing. Yay! That took way too much. Is that saying that this is the project that shouldn't be? I don't know. Is it saying you really must prove that you want to knit this weekender? Because you've been saying you've been wanting to knit it for a while and you haven't, so is this proof? I don't know. We have done it. I am very excited. I think it looks very good. I'll give you a nice little close-up. So that is what the tubular cast on looks like. It looks very pretty. So the answer is, if you're knitting on an odd number of stitches, your cast on for the tubular is a knit, and the one after that is a purl, and then a knit, and then a purl. And then you keep going, and if you need to end with an odd number, you'll end with a knit and not a purl, even though in the video she says you end with purl. That's if you're ending with an even number of stitches. I have done this for you. Trust me, I did it. Just count correctly. On here is my little orange sheep from the corner of craft. This little sheep adorns my sweater knitting, apparently, because we went from my Stillwater to this. So this is the back panel ribbing for my weekender. I did 2.5 stitches instead of 2.25, and then I started the front ribbing, and this is as far as I have gotten. I have to get to 1.5 stitches, and then I will be joining these in the round. It's hard to tell, but I have them next to each other, joining them in the round to start knitting in the round. I then can just cruise. I'm very excited. Oh, if I showed them to you like this. There we go. So the front one's only going to be 1.5 stitches and the back was 2.5. So I might be pretty close. As much grief and turmoil this took me, I am very, very excited that I have got this far. And in case you're wondering, I'm using my ChowGoo interchangeables. So these ones are just sitting on a cord with some stoppers on the end, so it can be safe and sound until I am ready to combine them. And then this cord is long enough for the front and back once I am done knitting flat. And so that is where I am with this. February 28th. January 12th. I feel like today's episode is a little bit of Tales of Turmoil, but that's okay. So my next work in progress is a pair of vanilla socks for my husband, Shane. I'm knitting these out of Desert Vista Dye Works peppermint hot chocolate colorway in the base Viso. So I mentioned these last time. I finished the first sock and I just started the ribbing of the second sock, and I was very determined to finish these for you for this episode. I was at the post office this afternoon, had to wait in line for 25 minutes. I got to my last stripe and went, oh my gosh, I can finish this before my episode. I'll go home, I'll walk Sherlock, I'll do the tail really quick. I'm gonna eat leftovers for dinner and then I can record. So that's what I did. I got to 14 stitches and I decreased down to 8 per needle. And it looks very, very good. I'm very excited. I was booking, I was ready, I was rolling. But I'm like, I'm finishing with brown. Yep, this one finished with white. And I don't know if you remember from last podcast, but I wondered about this stitch marker. If this stitch marker meant the brown is where I am decreasing, or if the brown is the last color before I started decreasing. The answer is the brown is the last color I did before I started decreasing. So I now must rip back this sock, knit one more color before I start doing the decreases, and reknit the toe. So it'll be a finished object for next time. So what I'm doing to do that is I am just going and picking up the stitches, and I will do the same on the back, and then I will just rip. And then I have to knit one more stripe. If it wasn't a good 1/4 inch difference, I probably wouldn't, but it is a good amount of difference. So I'm just gonna redo it. The toe is only about an hour worth of work, if that. Anyway, we'll have vanilla socks for next time. These socks have been a great asset recently though. I knit a good chunk of the foot while reading on my Kindle in my bed at night, which I didn't know I could do until I did it, but it was very lovely. And then I had a 3-hour meeting yesterday via Zoom. It was not supposed to be 3 hours, but it ended up being 3 hours. But I got the rest of the foot done with that. And then I had a good 25 minutes at the post office today, which I probably did about 2.5 stripes. So I know I need to go ahead and start another pair of vanilla socks just so I have another one on the go with me, because having them has been very good for my hands and just to get them done. And yes, that does lead me to a little bit of one of my New Year's goals. I do want to do, Desert Vista Dye Works does a year-long knit-a-thon where you knit a pair of socks each month with her yarn. You can only use her yarn. You can start at the beginning of the month, you just have to finish the pair before the end of the month, and then you get entered in for a prize. Every month it goes to a 10% increment in her store, and that gets every 3 months increases to that 10% amount. If you do 6 socks for the first 6 months, you get a free skein of yarn, and then if you do all 12 months, you also get an exclusive skein of yarn. And right now I have 3 more skeins of her yarn in my stash, and maybe a couple more on the way. These ones unfortunately will not count because I used a mini skein from another dyer, but I'm excited. I'm excited to use those as vanilla socks. And I think I'm going to start a pair for myself, and I think I'm going to do a nice ribbed pair. And then these are living in my Knit One and Sew Two sock bag, which I love. It was perfect for the post office because I just slid my hand in. That is that. The next work in progress is a little bit of an oldie but a goodie. This is my Habitation throw by HElen Stewert. I am knitting these on my ChowGoo interchangeables. I am using a US size 3.5 millimeter. And so today I have to show you, because I mentioned I'm only showing this when I finish a couple months of yarn. I have finished the June, July, August. I have finished the August colors. So starting where the little dragon is, these colors were Gringotts, A Letter from Hogwarts, Diagon Alley, Madame Malkin's, and then Flourish and Bots. And so this is how big it is right now. It is almost my wingspan, probably a little shorter. So from here and stops. My arm is bent, so it stops about there relative to me. And then I officially am on the decreasing ends. So this is kind of what the length of one side will be. So it'll be a nice little lappa blanket, but I have done this a little every morning the past couple days, and I've really enjoyed working on this. And so it's good for morning knitting because it's just knit stitches and then sometimes some yarn overs eyelet, which makes it very nice for knitting in the morning. And so as always, I'm using 10 grams from the Nora George Harry Potter Blanket Club, and I've now started on the September 2020 colors. So I'll give you a brief peek. So it is the Hogwarts Express, Reading Left to Right, the Cloak of Invisibility, Nearly Headless Nick, the Fat Lady, and the Sorting Ceremony. And I love these little cards that I can keep. And so I have combined them. I combined them into a little Russian join ball. That's how I'm doing all the joins, is a Russian join. And yes, I am almost done, maybe halfway through the first color. And I am now on the decreases. So that is that, nice and simple. It should be done soon. I don't know, or halfway. It's a blanket. They're supposed to be long-term projects. So I only show you when I finish a month at a time. My last work in progress this week is a little bit of a cheeky cast on. This is the Spruces by Hygge Canyon Knits, and this was a secret test knit that she put a call out for knitters for. It had a 1-week turnaround, but it had to be a secret until January 14th. And so I knit a pair within the week. I'm going to show you the yarns first. So I'm knitting this with my final skein from my A Homespun House advent calendar. This is the colorway Sugarcane, and it is on her gold stellina base. So it is 80% superwash merino, 15% nylon, and 20% stellina. And I am not a huge pink person, but something about this pattern, and I don't know, the gold sparkling, and it called to me. I don't know, something about it. And I paired it with a mini skein from my advent calendar as well. And I thought they went so well together, and I was very excited to work with these. So I have a finished shock to show you guys. Da, 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 da. So this is my first The Spruces sock by Hygge Canyon. And so this pattern features a long 1x1 cuff and then a beautiful triple tree motif. I'll take it off the blocker to show you guys a little bit better. A beautiful garter stitch edge heel flap, and then a lovely patterning before the toe. And I love this little accent ridge on both here and the toe. I think these socks are absolutely beautiful, and they do have a little bit of a fun pattern element. The socks are listed as sister socks, so on the second sock the toe area will look a little bit different, but I am very excited. And then there is a beautiful ribbing detail going down the back. Ugh, these flew off the needles so quickly. And so I knit these with a US 0, and I actually knit them magic loop, which is a little different if you know me. I normally do 9-knit circulars. I don't know. I just wanted to do magic loop. My tension is a lot tighter on magic loop, I learned, but I'm hoping since it's super wash, maybe I'll get a little extra help. So there's a nice broken rib detail going down the back, and then this is a better view of the socks, the trees on the front of the socks. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I love these socks and I cannot wait to start and finish the next one so I can wear them. I love this colorway with these socks. I call them my bubblegum trees. Those are all of my knitting projects that I'm sharing with you guys this week, and I hope you enjoyed. I do have a little something else that I want to share with you guys, but if you're just here for the knitting, that is all of it for now. So I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of how I'm planning to use like a knitting journal and note systems for this year. So I am using a small journal, and this is kind of like my brain dump journal. So in here I have my show notes for the episode, and then I have a couple pages. It's kind of like the bullet journal method, where I have a couple pages showing my table of contents. Oh boy, come on. A couple pages showing my table of contents, and then I have pages to do finished objects. I have a planner for my Desert Vista Dye Works monthly sock to check it off. For the Sock Knitters Anonymous group, because I would like to do a pair for their challenges every month as well. And then it's just like some general, to complete those socks, general planning, just for some brain dumping. And then I have pages for each of my works in progress, just so if I need to notate anything while I'm sitting in my knitting chair, I have a page to write quick notes down in case I don't want to log on to Ravelry or my computer to write down notes. Because sometimes, you know, when you're knitting and you're going, you just want to take like a couple seconds to write something down. Like for this, like, oh, I had 46 stitches before I decreased one more for the ribbing. Things like that. Small, tiny things that you don't necessarily always pull your phone out for. But I thought this would be good. It's just small and compact. It can go with me in my backpack, in my purse, in a knitting bag, so I can always take notes if I need to. And I like dotted journals because I feel like it just gives me a little more flexibility. So that's kind of what I'm doing with this. This is kind of my brain dump journal. And so then I also spent a little bit of time this past weekend doing a little bit of design work. I'm very excited about this. I made some printable pages for a knitting journal, and I think this is going to be very handy for things like the podcast and just keeping notes, something that is like more official. So in this, I'm going to take the page out so it's a little bit easier. So for my Stillwater cardigan, I have this page, and it just fits nicely into a 3-hole punch binder. And look, I designed it so perfectly so that when you do your 3-hole punch, you're not hole punching over your writing area. Think about these things because those things bug me. So you have like the top area to do the name of your project, who it's by. I have boxes for the needles and notions you used, if you want to notate what yarn you used, project detail. So in here I put the size that I was knitting, the sizes that the pattern has available, what type of yarn it uses, just general project information. And then I leave the second half of the entire page for notes, and this I did line the area so notes can be done pretty easily. So this is where I added things like how many stitches I added for the steek, the bind off I used for the ribbing, my decreases on my sleeve, and the thing about decreasing for the ribbing on my sleeve as well. And then at the bottom I have spaces for a cast on and bind off date. And now all this information is also on my Ravelry. I know a lot of people use Ravelry as well, but I just wanted something that felt, I don't know, a little more concrete, easier to refer to going forward in the future. I don't know. Sometimes it's nice being able to just write things down and be able to flip through and just show people things. And then on the back, the entire back of the page is also a note section with lines. And so I added a little bit of the yarn that was left over and a couple of the ball bands with my little washi tape with cats, because it's the only tape I have. I don't know, it has a little fun flair, right? How else are you supposed to use your washi tape? I don't know. I am very excited about this. I think it's just a very nice way for me to be able to keep finished objects in a nice compartmentalized place. And so it's just living in a nice little 3-ring binder. They fit very nicely in here. And then that way I have the freedom to move pages around and organize it how I see fit. Because that was one thing I always liked in school, was having 3-ring binders, because then you can move your pages around. But I like having these little notebooks so I can just jot things down kind of in the bullet journal method, and keeping, you know, I don't want to carry this around with me all the places. So they serve 2 different purposes. This one I can do more brain dumps, like types of planning, like little things. And then this is a more finalized, right now I'm doing it as I finished a project. I went through and put all my notes that I can kind of brain dump in here. I can put them all here in a more organized format. So if I ever want to knit something again, or need to refer to something, or when I'm looking at this cardigan, like, oh, what did I do for this sleeve? I remember I did something. I don't remember what bind off I used, but I think that one would be good for this one. I have it all here. And I also have it on my Ravelry as well, just so I have it in 2 different places, because backups are always good. And so I also designed a stash in and out page, if you've ever watched my stash in and out videos. So my stash in and out pages look at the top. I added a cute little header. I have finished objects here, and now I need to add how many skeins of yarn I used. I had to weigh my cardigan before I did it, so I used 4.5, but I round up. So I used 5 skeins of yarn. It was 454 grams. So I can just use it quickly like that. So I can list my finished projects, how many grams, the number of skeins, and then I have a place for tallying it up at the end of the month. And then at the bottom, it is the yarn that you get in, and along with tallies at the bottom. And then my general, how many skeins I purchased, and then how many, with the skeins that I purchased, how many I had at the beginning of the month, and how many I had at the end of the month. And so I'm very excited. I feel very proud of these pages. And so I started one as well for my weekender sweater. I don't know. I feel very proud of these. I feel like they'll be very handy. And it's a nice way to look back in the future as well, for years to come, of like what projects I did, the little snippets of yarn. And I like having a place to keep the ball bands as well. So if you guys are interested in these, I like being able to share them with you. If you don't know, I do have a Ko-fi account. It's a website where you can donate to help support the podcast so I can keep sharing things with you guys. I added these PDFs on Ko-fi, and they are on a pay what you can scale. So you can donate whatever you feel is valuable or worth these items if you would like to have the PDFs for yourself to have and use in the future. And so I think I'm gonna have a Stash In and Out one come out every month, but then the project page with the notes is on there as well, along with ball bands for dishcloths and socks. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I was very excited to see that Ko-fi had a little, it's called a shop element, but that I can do a pay what you can with that, so you guys can get for whatever you can afford and what you feel like that it's worth. I just think it's fun to have pages like this, and then I'm still working on building my graphic design portfolio, and so simple punchables like these I think are nice and fun. And if you can think of anything else that you would want in a knitting journal, or you think would be valuable or would be fun to see, let me know and I will gladly design and add it for you and put it up there. That is that. I hope you guys enjoy. I'm very excited because I just feel like I said, I wanted something to take with me, to take quick notes, but then something that feels a little more organized to reminisce on is also very fun. And I think there's even room to add a photo on here if I wanted to. So with that, guys, that is all that I have for you today. Thank you for hanging out with me. It really means so much for you guys to spend time with me, the comments, and just all the interaction, and that you guys like and listen and just want to be a part of a little bit of a knitting community. Even though we're small, I am so glad each and every one of you is here, because it means me talking to this camera isn't just to hear myself talk, which is crazy. I can't believe sometimes that I have a YouTube channel and a podcast, and so it really means so much to me that you guys are here and spend a little bit of time with me every other week. With that, guys, thank you for spending a little bit of time with me. I will see you in a good 2 weeks. Bye. Oh, Jesus. I never get things in my throat, and then when I record, there's always something. Or if you have already started something, but then that time frame, it is. Okay, now that I've rambled on a bit about that. Oh my god, I love this turn. So please light me up. Light me up. Why are outros the hardest thing in the entire world? I just don't know what my saying is.